I want to turn now to El Paso, Mayor Oscar Leeser. Mayor, it's always a pleasure to see you. I really thank you for your time. You were invited to the White House for this announcement. We've talked for years about the impact of the humanitarian crisis on your city, for example. Why do you support this?
You know, Jose, if you remember, you and I have been out on the street. You have done interviews with me in El Paso while we're on the street, and when we had 2,000, 2,500, 3,000 people a day coming into El Paso. So it's really important that we continue to make sure that we can provide a safe entry into our community. And by doing this, it allows them to go through the CBP-1 application, and when they come in, they'll be able to go to work immediately. And that's one of the things we've really been working really hard with Secretary Mayorkas and the administration to allow people to go to work. Without a bipartisan agreement, they don't have enough funding to get additional judges. We need additional judges. Otherwise, they're going to be sitting here not working for 5 years, not being able to have a hearing for 5 years. So this really helps the asylum seekers go through a process that they could do a legal entry. One of the things that just a couple of days ago, over the weekend, the Border Patrol had to go out and rescue 4 people from the desert. We've found people that unfortunately have not made it. People have been coming on the trains and losing their lives. So this is really something that's going to help. But without a bipartisan agreement, the immigration process and program will continue to be broken. We don't have enough funding, and this really helps us to continue to help the asylum seekers, but also our #1 priority is safety for our community and our visitors.
That reality that you talk about, Mayor, that, you know, if they come into this country, they have really no real clear path to getting a work permit until today, you know, going forward. And we're talking about millions of people that have that and face that reality. This is what Mayor Eagle Pass Mayor Rolando Salinas, who was not invited to the White House, told the Texas Tribune, quote, "If he, the president, could have done this all along, why didn't he do this last year when our city got slammed? They closed the bridge. Businesses were hurt. Our first responders were struggling. Why now?" I'm just wondering, Mayor, I know that you have faced very difficult circumstances in your city, and you have tackled it the best way you know how to. And you're absolutely right. I can't, you know, I think back of the many times that you have actually been to the area. You've gone into Juarez to talk to officials. Why do you think that this executive action is important now? And why not, to ask what Salinas asked, why now and why not back then?
Remember, this is only the beginning. This is only a step forward, but why now? Because we've been trying for years. It didn't just start yesterday. We've been trying for years to get a bipartisan Congress and an agreement to move forward. And still, without that, we still don't have a clear path of how we're going to go. But it's something that we've continued to try. We've asked for the federal government to be able to give us proper funding to be able to, it's not on the back of the local taxpayers. But back in November of 2022, we were spending between $200,000 and $300,000 a day to have transportation to help the asylum seekers. So that's something that we've been working really hard for many years. And it's not that we just started talking about it now. It's been for a long time. And again, we still need to move forward with a bipartisan agreement. So that's 4 months ago, it got turned down. Just recently, it got turned down. And why now? Because it's never too late to start. And we need to continue to move forward to not only protect our asylum seekers, but to help all the communities around the United States. I mean, the governor of New York was there. The governor of New Mexico was there. The city manager from Nogales was there. There was a big group of people really that was in support of this because we know the impact that's done to our community. And we look at the safety, as we were talking about just now, the safety of people coming in, they get exploited, the children, you know, the sex trafficking. There's so many things that have been happening that this really, when you go to the CBP-1 application, will really help, and you control the legal entry into our community. It's something that's very important. So it's not why now, it's we need to continue to do what we're doing today, and this is only a step forward on doing the right thing. The president's, Secretary Mayorkas, has been a really, really big supporter of making sure that our community and communities like El Paso have the resources to be able to do the job of the federal government. And that's something that's really important. El Paso and many border cities are really doing the job of the federal government. And without a bipartisan agreement, we will not have the proper funding that we need to move forward and continue to make sure that not only our community, but our asylum seekers continue to be safe.
Mayor Oscar Alicer, it's always a pleasure to see you. I thank you for being with us this morning. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I want to bring in Lee Gelernt of the ACLU. Lee, it's good seeing you always. The ACLU sued Trump over something very similar, although much more widespread, his executive orders on immigration. You now say you're going to sue the Biden administration over this action. Why?
We are. We sued, as you said, under Trump for a similar policy, and I think the administration has left us no choice. We think this is patently illegal, and I think the Biden administration is acknowledging they're on shaky legal grounds. So we will sue. We think it's illegal. But I want to stress some of the points that the mayor made and in your earlier reporting. I think, Jose, you know, and you've been covering this issue for so long, that these kinds of policies are not going to deter desperate people from coming. So I think what we need to do is have a balanced approach. And I think there's two things we can do. One is we can put more resources on the border, more asylum officers, immigration judges to screen people. Families who are coming here are not trying to evade law enforcement. They are coming over the border. They are sitting down and waiting to be screened for asylum. So we need more asylum officers, not more enforcement. The other thing I think we need is more legal pathways. I don't know a single economist now who says we don't need more workers and more immigrant workers. So let's create legal pathways. And by what I mean by a balanced approach is, right now, I think if you ask the American people, we know that they say immigration is important to them. But if you said to them, well, a family's being persecuted, may be in grave danger because of their religion, and they come and they want to seek refuge in this country, should we at least screen them if they're being persecuted based on their religious beliefs? I think most people would say yes. This current law does not even screen people for asylum if they enter in the wrong place. And people don't always know where to enter, and the cartels don't allow them to enter at proper places. And as you pointed out, there's simply not enough spots to apply at a port of entry, and it takes months. So let's have a balanced approach. We speed up the screening. We have a streamlined process, but we don't completely ban asylum.
Let me ask you, Lee, because it isn't a banning of asylum, right? I mean, this executive action is not banning asylum, but it is the responsibility of the federal government and of the executive to define and execute what immigration policy is and is not in the United States. I'm just wondering, Lee, you know, it seems as though failure from Washington means that the ones who are determining and executing immigration policy are the cartels. And you see that all this means is further exploitation of human beings, men, women, and children. So where does that responsibility lie, Lee, and who is responsible for acting on immigration?
Right. So I think that's a fair point, Jose. And so by what I mean by banning is I mean banning people who enter between ports from applying for asylum. And Congress has been very clear that you may apply for asylum regardless of where you enter, because people can't always get to a port and there's very few spots. So it's overwhelmingly going to ban most people from applying for asylum. Now, look, the federal government is responsible for it. I'm simply saying that this is not the proper approach. Let's put more screeners in and move it quickly, but also have more legal pathways. I think the whole system needs to be fixed. We know we need workers. Let's have legal pathways for workers. Let's have a system so that people don't have to line up at the border, because, you know, as your reporting has always shown, desperate people are going to come. So let's create legal pathways for workers. Let's streamline the asylum process. But let's not say that if you enter in the wrong place, you can't apply for asylum. That's international law. And that's been the law in this country for 40 years. And that's why the court struck down what Trump did, is because people can't always get to a port and there's very few spots, but they may be in grave danger because of their religious beliefs, political views.
Lee Gelernt, I thank you very much for being with us. Really appreciate your time.